My friend had a sister who was married to a big-time drug dealer. They were doing cocaine all the time, and we were all into it. I had a crush on my friend's girlfriend for years, and she knew it. So when I went after her, she said that she cannot break up with him unless he was unfaithful to her. I knew he had an affair, so I told her, and she broke off with him and went out with me. The truth came out about the brother that killed himself, that I was the bully in school that picked on him. He had worked out and picked a fight with me after 5 years. I had trained in martial arts, amateur boxing for years myself, and gave him a beating. Then he stayed in his house for 1 year before he killed himself. My friend and sister's husband talked about killing me, and my friend said that it was in the past and forget about it. Wow, how God can use the mother of the son whose death I had a part in to bring me to the Lord Jesus Christ. Becoming a man. I had used street drugs and drank from grade 5 on. I used harder drugs after coming out of the army. In my life, I always tried whatever was going around. I was attracted to the wildlife. I liked to rebel. I liked the rebel image and the motorcycle lifestyle. I rode bikes from 15 years old on. I got a job at Baker Met Auto Wreckers and saved up for my next bike, a 1947 Flathead Harley, and it was a basket case I picked up in Toronto at the National Motorcycle Swap Meet. I fixed it up and rode around on it for a few years. I applied for a better job and worked as a bartender at the Ottawa Curling Club and the Ottawa Firefighters Club, then landed a job at Loeb Inc. as a picker in the warehouse. We decided to buy a new house out of town in Russell, Ontario, and live there for 5 years. I was really into Kung Fu training every day. I moved on to Terrian Jiu-Jitsu Kickboxing Dojo and trained under Johnny Terrio. I decided to stop drinking and smoking drugs for the sport and be the best fighter I could be. I trained every day and worked night shift. I had 6 fights in the same amount of years. It was a tough sport. I loved it. I needed the attention and pride that it filled me with. After 5 years, I became a regular sparring partner with the world champion. It was my ego and pride of fighting with world-class fighters that was filling my emptiness I felt inside. I fought my last fight at the Verdun Montreal Auditorium. The fight footage was aired on TSN for 10 years against Victor Vergotsky, sponsored by the Rock Machine. I lost the fight and had to go through a psychometric evaluation. They said I had severe dyslexia and lost 25% of my sight, so my fighting days were over. I went on vacation that year, and my spouse at the time said I should have a drink, and it has been 5 years since my last drink, so I had 2 Bloody Caesars on the plane, and after 4 double 151 proof rum and cokes at the resort, then looked for some pot to smoke. I was back to drinking and on drugs just as fast as before, right back where I left off. I sold satellite decoders for extra money and bought another Harley. My life took a turn for the worse. I was empty doing drugs and had an affair with a stripper from the Den nightclub. My girlfriend and I had a verbal contract. If we fooled around on each other, we would tell the truth. The first night I had an affair, she wanted to have sex, so I told her the truth and she left. She went home to her mother's, and that was the end of our relationship. Searching for love. I picked up a flyer about addiction one day, and on the back it had 10 questions. I answered yes to every one except one, and it said if you answered yes to 3, you are an addict. So talking to my dad, he agreed with me and said I had the 10th question wrong, so I finally had a perfect score. Unfortunately, it said I needed help. I went to the Royal Ottawa Hospital for an assessment. They agreed with me, and after a short interview with a counselor, they told me I was addicted. I was an addict and needed treatment. I started treatment with a day program and worked at night. After a couple of weeks of sitting in group therapy, I decided to go on a 28-day program at Meadow Creek Treatment Center. I drove to Ottawa Royal Hospital every day and bust out to Meadow Creek. Loeb Inc., now Metro Inc., allowed me to attend that program, and I learned about addiction. I found out it was a disease. Abstinence was the cure, along with daily meetings, the 12-step program, and an admission that I was unable to control my addiction. So I did the program and went to meetings every day for 1 year and chose a sponsor. He was very confident and had 10 years of clean time. He was a heroin addict for 10 years with $10,000 a day habit. I was addicted to alcohol and smoking pot, hash, and some cocaine. I moved my sponsor into my house and sold him half of my house, and he set up in a basement apartment. It was a good deal for both of us. We were there for each other and shared the expenses. After a few years, I joined the Liberty Biker MC in Val-de-Mont, Quebec. The club had about 8 to 10 members, all Harley riders, and all members were clean from booze and drugs. I met them through a friend at work and was a hang-around and then striker for 1 year, 1997 to 2000. I met my first wife at the same time. She had 3 kids and moved into my house in the same year.